Okay, welcome to Into the Channel podcast, primarily about women's football. I'm your host, Dino Decespedes, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Grant Engle. What's up, man?
I'm feeling fantastic, buddy. It's good to be back here with you. It's been a little while. We appreciate everybody's patience, but we had a couple things to do, so we needed to take care of those for a little bit. So thanks for bearing with us.
Thanks for bearing with us for sure. A couple things to do. One in particular, welcome to new addition to the family this past weekend on a free transfer. Gabriela Elena joined us. Little Gabby Porcillo, little Elena Linari in the mix. You know, just a little offense, defense. In the naming conventions, didn't actually name them after either of those two players, but that's the name that we landed on. And she's doing great. Mom's doing great. And your boy's back podding. So, what else? I mean, I'm not sure I can ask for anything else, man.
I mean, look, the paternity leave at Into the Channel is a generous policy, but we just can't keep you off the pitch, man.
It is unpaid, so I live with that. But we're scratching our way up the what is it? The pyramid, the football pyramid. So we'll see where we land. But yeah, man, let's get into it. Way too many days since we've podded. I think I missed 2 NWSL weekends. Funny story, actually. I didn't see the Seattle result from the week prior, the 3-3, just absolute barn burner, until I started watching this week's games and I saw like a replay of it. I apologize, man. I really wish we could have podded, and I could have gotten your take from that just epic matchup.
It was a pretty amazing matchup. The team was not thrilled with the result in the post-match press conference, as you could imagine. Nor should they have been. But, you're going to have these kind of weird runs of form throughout a season. And I think we can kind of talk about how that trend is continuing.
Yep. Let's get into it. Week 17 weeks in. I can't believe we're here already. Hitting the real stretch run. A nice weekend of football. Not quite the rusty football that we saw the first couple weeks back from the long break. But Mr. Grand Angle, where do you want to get started?
Let's get started with a celebratory beverage for your new addition.
I appreciate that.
For the football returning, for the podcast returning.
Cheers.
Cheers to you. Cheers to the football.
Cheers to the pod. Cheers to the football. Cheers to week 17.
Also, I don't know what this brewery, I don't know what their connection is, but the brewery's in Portland. It's Deftones themed. So cheers to the Deftones for also returning. Because however big the overlap is in the Venn diagram of people who are playing the Clips album nonstop and the new Deftones album nonstop, I think there actually might be decent overlap in that Venn diagram, but your boy is squarely in there. I
like it. Yeah, I'm probably more on the Clip side of the Venn diagram.
Sure.
Not a huge Deftones guy, but I'm sympathetic. I recognize.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I've got Clips and Lord going back to back in my rotation. I'm not sure there's a lot of us roaming around these streets either. But let's get into it, man. I want to talk a little Portland nil, KC Current 2. Your boy's experimenting with some power rankings. I'm not sure how I'm going to unveil those or when I'm going to unveil those, but they're ruminating. And the KC Current, like everybody else covering this sport, KC Current sit at the very top of my power rankings, and they get a big grown-up win. I'm not sure they got the signature win that I was pining for. Didn't get it versus Orlando, but this was a really, really big, kind of impressive win against a tough squad on the road.
I think they're a flying death machine, to be honest. I mean, Portland played pretty well, but Kansas City, they're just at a spot right now where they could beat you a million different ways. It's nearly impossible to beat Lorena. To score on her. I mean, she had a couple great saves in this one. Temwa Chawinga is inevitable. And if you're going to let them score in the first minute, you're fighting Ivan Drago it's real scary hours real early in the match when you can see that early.
Yeah, you're going into Drago's house. You're going into Moscow and just be like, all right, right here, Ivan.
Yeah,
just exactly. Plant one on me. I'm glad you mentioned Chawinga. I think every week I feel like I pick up something new from her game. And I think this week, the thing that kind of blew me away is just how often a ball gets kicked into an area and then there's just seemingly a cloud of dust, bodies kind of knocking against each other. And then Temwa Chawinga just exits the cloud of dust with the ball, like heading towards the goal. Like it's unbelievable how she's able to do that. And in the goal that she scored on this one, it's an Ellie Wheeler ball over the top. Obviously Wheeler gets the super early goal. But the other thing about Chewinga is she's always got defenders running sort of alongside her, kind of in the frame. But if you really, really look closely, they have no impact on the play whatsoever. 8 times out of 10, they're just doing everything they can just to keep pace running wise. And that was this one. Like, I think the announcing team kind of were like, oh, she finishes amidst some traffic. You look closer and it's like everybody's like a foot and a half away. And it's like she's really just kind of like running through a very thin lane, but doing it at such a high pace. And then she's able to just finish it. I mean, like they're just playing on another level right now.
And even the times, it's such a great point by you, even the times where she does get kicked, like as she's running through there, and it's like you said, it's like a cartoonish cloud of dust and she emerges from it. I realize Malawi is roughly 3,500 yards or 3,500 miles, away from Nigeria. But when you see a tough runner in the city of Kansas City, reminiscent of the Nigerian nightmare Christian Okoye from the Kansas City Chiefs years ago. And that's just how I felt about that, where it's just like you can't take her down. She's getting to her spot however she wants to. And then she has the touch and the intelligence to finish. What can be said about her at this point other than she's making another run at her second consecutive MVP?
Absolutely. Yeah, and probably in the driver's seat for that. You mentioned Lorena. So this is 9 clean sheets, probably on pace to at least equal, but probably surpass Anna Morehouse's record last season of 13 clean sheets of the season. Lorena just looks, off the chart. Like the 1 weak spot that they had last season to try to figure out a goalkeeper. Now they just maybe have the best goalkeeper, or certainly playing in that echelon. I thought another nice move from Vlatko, kind of stealing some minutes, maybe some rest for Michelle Cooper and Dabinia, and getting Nichelle Prince into the match, who ate up minutes. And on that Ellie Wheeler goal, ate up a couple defenders. So it kind of occupied Reina Reyes, and then also had Claire Hutton kind of leaning the wrong way for just enough of a mix that Ellie Wheeler was able to sneak in back door. So I thought another mini stroke of brilliance from Vlatko, because now, like I mentioned, 17 weeks in, just 9 matches to go. We're kind of hitting that home stretch. They're 12 points clear. I'm not sure how badly they need each of these single matches. So grabbing some minutes here and there, making sure that players are rested and ready for kind of the stretch run. I really like that move as well from Vlatko.
I don't think I'm even at much risk of this being memeable. I feel like it was 2 weeks ago when we last talked about Kansas City being in the driver's seat. Shield's over. It's done. They're not losing it. They're not giving it up. I feel no remorse about saying this. I don't think there are really any circumstances in which they don't win the Shield. So, congratulations to the Kansas City Current. I'll continue to watch their matches because they're entertaining, but I think that's done and dusted at this point.
I totally agree with you. I think they could probably cruise to the Shield, and a lot of it is on the strength of their defense. I think one thing I saw in this match, Portland, obviously they were game, they played tough, but Kansas City, once they commit to defense, they can almost whether they've got like a 4-3, midfield or, midfield and backline, but they can switch 4-3, 3-4, just have players like kind of scoot up and down. And like they're also overplaying pretty aggressively, which you saw kind of like a player like Hino Sugita take advantage of the other way. Like kind of like, oh, you're going to overplay, and like, I'll just kind of hit it back where you came from essentially. Right. But for the most part, their tenacity made it, just like really, really hard for Portland to get anything going. And, when they're opportunistic and they can steal an early goal like Wheeler or Chewinga's, she's going to break through at some point. This team is just not going to lose these kind of games.
Yeah, you're totally right. And I think, we'll talk a little bit more about Portland in the preview of their next match, though. But you saw how Portland responded when they lost that match coming out of the break. They lose to Washington Spirit. They came back with a great performance against Seattle Reign FC. Now they lose this match to Kansas City Current. And I think that's bad news for Utah Royals coming up next week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll get into that in the preview next episode here. But let's scoot ahead. This was a fun one. Obviously, a little bit of a milestone for the league for sure. Bay FC 2, Washington Spirit 3 from Oracle Park, played in front of over 1,000 fans here in the Bay Area. Pretty awesome show. What do you need to know about this one? How about combined XG for the two teams, 1.64. Combined real G for the two teams, 5.00.
There we go.
Like real G Enterprise, let's just get the ball into the back of the net, give the people what they wanted, get everybody their money's worth.
Negative XG on that first Washington goal, right? And I don't blame Silkowitz for it because she had to freeze. It looked like Hirschfeld was going to get a touch on it, and I thought they explained that pretty well on the broadcast. So I don't blame Silkowitz for that. Now I don't know this yet, but as it happened, and I was like, tough one for Silkowitz. Of course, you know me. I said, tough break for Silky on that one. Is her nickname Silky? Do people call her Silky in that locker room? Are you aware of this?
I've heard her referred to as Silky. Yeah, I think Alyssa Melanson referred to her as Silky when I asked Melanson if she was trying to send a message to Emma Hayes.
I love it.
She didn't play any kind of ball with me, and Silky jumped in and was just like, yeah, of course she was trying to send a message. And then Melanson was like, yeah, Silky's got my back. I was like, yeah, that's right.
Damn right.
Anywho, can't blame Silkowitz on that one. A weird ball in. I mean, but credit to Wiesner, like you kind of like knuckled it, and she's aiming for the back post, and you put a little extra mustard on it so that it kind of curls back in. But that was kind of the story of this match.
I would say the other message to defenses all over the league: Croy Bethune back, give her some space, give her some space on top of the 18 like that. You're asking for trouble. She had way too much real estate available to her on that goal, and Bay FC's back line did it a second time after half, and she almost scored again. I mean, she was like a foot off, maybe.
Yeah, and she was pissed. She was like, I definitely should have scored that one. I think this one had, like the venue was so massive and like the event was so massive that the venue kind of overshadowed any singular player. But I think if you had to isolate somebody, Bethune was awesome. She obviously gets the early goal. Kundanaji gets a goal to make it 3-1 after they go down 3-0. Trinity Rodman involved in a goal. Kelly Hubley involved in a goal one way. Kelly Hubley involved in a goal the other way. Like it was just back and forth, everything kind of happening. But I wanted to talk a little bit about something that like I can't get past watching Trinity Rodman kind of be a little bit of a baby on the pitch and it be a little bit of a bummer. Like she kind of had that one play where she gets fouled and she just kind of splays out on the floor. She's like, I've been fouled and I'm not going to kind of get up. Kundanaji kind of gave it to her and she sort of, I don't know. Like, I just feel like she goes at the refs so hard.
She does. And
it's like, you're so good, and I've said it before. I think it has an effect on their team. I think it does kind of derail them a little bit, where they're just like, yeah, we are kind of getting screwed here. And like, it's like, she's such a big personality that I do feel like it boils all over a little bit. And it just seems unnecessary. Like I don't think she's winning any calls by doing it. I don't know. Am I weird about that?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think it's probably the only way that they're really similar. But I know I've talked about like kind of the Luka Doncic principle of like you're this otherworldly player, but you're just hammering the refs throughout the match, and it's just like could it actually be working the other way, where you're not only like
it has to be.
Like it's not gonna help you get calls, but also, which is also kind of like a Chris Paul principle, where it's just like, I'm not only not gonna give you more calls, I'm gonna be more of a jerk to you. Leave me alone, please.
Right. No, I think it's certainly not producing any results. Just because you could just see that it's sort of like when she feels like she's slighted, she's not using it in any kind of strategic way. And add to that Rodman, most of this match playing on the left. Like not where we're used to seeing her with Cantore playing on the right. Obviously Trinity Rodman's not going to lose her place, but it's like, I don't know, at this point, it's a weird situation to be, especially with the Spirit kind of coming on a little bit. This is a team, early season wobble. We weren't really sure. Okay, is this, we had high expectations, maybe championship level expectations, especially for me specifically. They didn't look like they were meeting that level necessarily, but now it kind of feels like they're right on the outskirts at worst, So I don't know. That was just something I picked up on. I'm not sure if it totally makes a difference, but I wanted to kind of raise a flag on it.
No, I think it makes sense. I mean, obviously she's one of the leaders on the team. She did have some points 2 weeks ago in that Racing Louisville matchup. There were just some horrifying calls and decisions by the referee, and they were weird about the timing too. Like they ended the match, I thought, too quickly, and Rodman was upset about it, and I was right there with her. And I mean, I don't miss a lot of opportunities to talk about how shitty the refs are in the NWSL, but I take your point though. I think sometimes it ends up being a net negative.
Yeah. Well, so Washington gets the big win in this one. Had a funny closer because much like Alyssa Nair, who got a big goal late in the match the weekend prior, Jordan Silkowitz actually got a look very late in this one to try to equalize a ball off Caprice Didasco. And it reminded me of a conversation I had with Jordan very briefly a couple weeks back. I didn't get to run it on the show, but kind of relevant here. So I want to go to it right now. Obviously, I'm sure you'd love to see a clean sheet, but what else will you be looking for outside of not allowing goals? Like what will you be looking for from your position as, an upgrade from last week to this week?
I think the coolest part of my position specifically is, you are the last line of defense, but you're also the first line of attack. And that's something that I really find joy in this position. I think obviously your first and foremost job is to keep the ball out of the back of the net, but I think there's so many different parts to this position that I know I love about it. You have the defensive side, but you also have the attacking side, looking to build in possession. How can you help the team attack and exploit like transition opportunities? So through every game, I have a bunch of different things I look at. And for me, I just try to get better each and every day, just like 1%, one thing each game.
Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you.
Trying to get 1% better each game. Was she reading Pat Riley's book? Let's go. I love that. Kindred spirits with...
He's probably ghostwriting it.
Yeah, there you go. Kindred spirits with Silky there. Yeah, I mean, trying to be the first line of attack, trying to be the last line of attack on that goal. It was a great save by Kingsbury to make it. Had to be made. It was going to be the equalizer. So, yeah, man, it was a wild one. The atmosphere added to it. I thought the broadcast did a nice job of kind of like highlighting. Obviously that ballpark is incredible looking. It's like one of the ballparks that I have not seen that I still want to see. So all around it was a good show by the league and by these two squads.
Yeah, no doubt. Like you mentioned, big win for Washington Spirit. Bay FC, I don't know, they're going to need to sort something out. We'll get into them a little bit more in the preview. But long story short, I think we've got to see a little bit more evolution from that squad and some a little different to go to. But I want to scoot ahead. A couple teams that I don't know have caught my fancy this season. San Diego 0, Racing Louisville 1. Big impressive win for the club that I think I guaranteed on this show when we were talking to the XOG guys, Evan and Eric, that Racing Louisville would in fact make the playoffs, and now it feels like they're absolutely cruising. I'm going to spoil a little bit of my power rankings. I've got Racing Louisville as my third best team in the NWSL.
Wow. Okay. That's bold. You're just knifing your guy Jonas in the back, huh?
I mean, they got to start scoring goals. Like at some point, I had in my notes a lot of these chances created and quote unquote shot creating actions. They've got to start creating some goals, not just some shots or chances.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. I mean, they obviously they're tied for second with the most scored this season. But yeah, these last 5 on the spin, if you count the last one before the break, 0, 0, 1, 2, 0. So yeah, I mean,
I'm crunching some numbers here. That sounds like 3 goals in 5 games.
Yeah, thank you for that. A much more succinct way to say that. But yeah, and they get that 2-1 win over Bay, who are kind of stuck near the bottom of the table. So yeah, I think Racing Louisville, third best team in the league. You got me thinking on that one. I mean, the Benda injury, not great. Portland Thorns, a little wobbly. I think you can make a case.
They just went to San Diego, beat them.
Yeah.
I mean, who are we talking about here? I mean, I think it seems, I don't know. I see now I feel I feel more emboldened.
You got a case.
Yeah, maybe we bump them up a little. I don't know. Washington? What's Washington?
All right. Let me take it easy.
I'm just kidding. Anywho, Jordan Bloomer, 8 saves in this one. I thought she was awesome. One in particular, that save on Corley was, a very acrobatic and a play that I think at the beginning of the season, that was one that San Diego cashed, and we're used to kind of seeing that one go in, and then the game kind of tilts the other direction. But San Diego dominated, 3 times as many touches in Louisville's half as the inverse, 2.5 times more touches in the final third, twice as many box touches, twice as many shots. But when it came down to it, like a lot of the wave shots, to be honest, from distance, nothing too crazy. Outside of that big Corley chance, nothing super duper threatening. So I don't know, Louisville just did a great job of bend but not breaking and kind of keeping San Diego at bay. And another performance where San Diego kind of underwhelms offensively.
Yeah, it's a great point. It takes a lot to beat Bloomer, who I think at least I have had my eyes opened this season, like as it's gone on. I mean, she's really an excellent keeper. So, I like the way they play. They're gritty. They got a little bit of edge to them. Taylor Flint is just consistently good every single match. She's got to be working her way back into U.S. Women's National Team contention. I'm just going to keep beating that drum.
Yeah. Sorry, real quick. Taylor Flint, I was thinking through the process of like, where is she on my MVP ballot? Because when you watch her, she just stops so many things and she moves the ball along in so many ways. She had that great strike when Weber laid a ball off to her that she kind of almost put in. And it's like, fuck, she's effective at every part of the pitch. She's like super dangerous and she just covers so much ground. I mean, like, I don't know. To me, she's in my like top 5, top 6 MVP ballot. I think she's been that important. And if Louisville can kind of crawl up into that top 3, I feel like super, super earned for a player like that.
I mean, they'll need her to play like an MVP candidate if they get into the top 3. I think it'll be super well deserved. You're right though. Where would they be without her? If you just put a replacement level center midfielder in her spot, I don't think they'd be nearly as good.
No, I totally agree. San Diego, we'll see what they're able to put together. They're heading your way, taking on the Reign, and Racing Louisville. They're heading home, taking on Houston Dash. And we'll see just kind of how high Louisville can climb. I think this was kind of supposed to be a marquee matchup, and San Diego had to be a betting favorite in this one, and they had success. But there's something about, and I'm not smart enough of a football brain to kind of figure out what was going on here, but Louisville felt in full control of the field position, the tempo. It's like you look at the possession numbers, 71% to 29 for San Diego. San Diego connects 89% of their passes to 75. They dominated in both of those. They dominate, like where the ball is on the pitch, but it's almost like they let you have it, but not in a place that's too. It's like almost like letting a toddler play, but you're not really letting them get into any kind of danger. It's really trippy what they're able to do, because it didn't feel like San Diego kind of had any real chance to kind of win that one.
Yeah, I mean, they don't let you get into your super comfortable spots, right? Like you can have the ball on the outskirts of the danger area, but you're not really. And we've seen the matches where Bloomer has had to stand on her head and kind of get pelted with shots, and they can draw or lose those matches, obviously, but Bloomer will keep them in it. But if you're stuck shooting from distance at Bloomer, you're probably not going to have much of a chance.
Yeah, no, and that's pretty much what it was all day. And then you look at the shot distribution, obviously 22 shots on the day, but the 3 leading, shot accumulators, Kenza Dali with 5, Kennedy Wesley with 3, Melanie Barcenas with 3. So not quite your sharp shooters who are, outside of Dali. Barcenas has been really good, but, you have so many really good players that you'd like. I don't know. You'd like maybe different players getting the bulk of the shots there, but we'll see what they've got this week against Seattle, and we'll get into that once we hit the preview later this week. But let's shift gears to a real sad one. Angel City 1, Orlando Pride 0. Sad from a lot of different angles, but I want to kick it to you. Where do you want to get started with this one?
Hated it. Hated watching it. Didn't enjoy watching it. Alyssa Thompson looks like Cowboy Bob Orton with that giant arm cast. Looks looks like when the referee turns around, she's gonna smash you over the skull with it.
No swimming for her.
Yeah, the overarching sadness, the cloud in the air, the Barbara Benda injury.
Terrible.
Orlando they just look very beatable, and they looked really beatable in long stretches in this match, and I didn't like it.
They looked beatable, and they also looked like they got bullied a little bit by Angel City.
Yeah.
Whether it was like Madison Hammond or kind of Sarah Gordon or Svanus Jane kind of wanted to mix it up as well. It just looked like and without Banda, this Orlando side this Orlando offense is just not really scary or threatening. It's like a really big issue. Obviously, the team also announced the soon-to-be arrival of Elizabeth Jacqueline Ovalle from Tigres. That's exciting. So let's kick that into gear. A player that can score and also assist. But before we get there, I mean, this Orlando offense just really, really looking for answers, looking for solutions. And I think, a player like Simone Jackson comes in, has some positive moments. I thought Ali Watt had some positive moments, being a little bit more of that featured attacker on offense. Those are encouraging, but we're at the point, if it's the second or third match of the season and we're kind of like having this conversation, that's one thing. 17 matches in and we're still sort of trying to figure out what the midfield looks like, what the attack looks like. Also got news today that Morgan Gautrat will be moving on. I think are retiring from Orlando was the announcement, and maybe possibly heading over to Newcastle. So we'll see what happened to best of luck to Morgan there. But that's another just piece that's somewhere else, and another challenge for Seb Hines and Haley Carter to kind of figure out exactly how to get out of this.
Yeah, and Lisbeth Ovalle is really going to help. I think U.S. Women's National Team fans probably remember the absolute laser of a goal she scored against them. We've seen her do work for Tigres. I mean, what they announced it. They announced her signing Thursday, and then they played later Thursday night. And just watching this match, I was like, you couldn't get her on an earlier flight? Like how? Like we couldn't have made this happen? Like send the PJ to go get her. Was it the Wilf family or the Wilfs or something? The
yeah. I think it's the Wilfs. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the football gods giveth, and they unfortunately do the other thing as well. Mm-hmm. So Ovalle can't get there fast enough. I'll be interested to see what her chemistry looks like with the other players, how she's going to kind of fit into that wing rotation. And then we'll see how she meshes with Chilufya, who I think, her and Simone Jackson, they're going to have to provide something in the center of the park, or, down that central channel, in the number 9 spot. So, they're going to have to try to find some offense, and hopefully that gives their defense a little time to breathe and kind of get back to their dominating ways.
Yeah, I think defensively, there's a lot to kind of like feel positive about. There's still a little bit of like flux, especially the outside backs, whether it's Pickett or Abella or Corey Dyke or Oyane or Rafaele. Like, there's still some, moving parts. Like Samson and Danner seem to be like the two constants among that group. And yeah, you look at Orlando. I mean, I really hope the chemistry comes soon, because you look at the shot distribution in this one. Carson, like the leader in shots in this one for Orlando, there was a 4-way tie between Carson Pickett, Ali Watt, Haley McCutcheon, and Oyane Hernandez, who all led the team with 2 shots. So not sure, the 8 shots in a match that's exactly how you want it distributed. But to your point, I think Ovalle ideally comes in and is able to, connect some more things. I think Chilufya, I'm glad you brought her up. I think she's been improving and coming on more and more, but probably not at the rate where she's a player you can count on down the stretch, and definitely not in the playoffs, and definitely not on the road in the playoffs. But that's no knock on her. I think she is improving, and she's a good player. But it's a lot to ask when a player like Banda, just kind of gets zapped off the roster.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's hard to for any team to lose their number 9, but we're talking about one of the, at worst, 5 best number 9s in the world. You're just not going to be able to fully replace that. It's the way the sport works.
No way. But I mean, to Haley Carter's credit and to that organization's credit, nobody thought Banda was going to come in last year and do what she did. So who knows? I mean, maybe there's a little bit more magic left in the bottle. We'll see. But I want to scoot ahead here. Maybe if there was any game this weekend to have our guy Mike Watts on, how about Chicago Stars 3, North Carolina Courage 3? Let's fucking go.
That was a football game.
Let's go. That was the second half of football for you. Let's go. Let's zoom in a little further.
It absolutely was. If we want to talk about the moments, I just think the Tyler Lucy goal. I can't even what minute was that? That was around the hour mark, I want to say.
62,
just a little gap wedge. Just a little, you got to get it over the bunker. Just to use the shoulders. A little chip. Just get it right over the goalkeeper. I loved it.
Get a little grass on the way in. Yeah. Just slow things down. A little texture to it. That was great.
That's right.
But the story of the day. I mean, it's got to be Luzmila. I thought this was another one where the Courage. To their credit, they carve out a 2-0 lead on the road against a team that they probably feel like they need to beat. And then Luzmila just breaks it open, 76th minute. And I think when she scores that first one, I know it was 2-0 and North Carolina has the game well in hand. But I look at the clock and I'm like, oof. For how badly she beat that North Carolina defense, I look at the clock, I'm like, there's a lot of time left in this one.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, if she just did that, there's really nothing precluding her from doing that again and equalizing. And I even sold it short.
They were, early in the season before the international break, Chicago was the team that was coughing away leads regularly. Now it would appear no lead is safe versus them. And they have taken that energy. They're roaring back in these matches. You talked about the match previously against Seattle Reign. They're unkillable right now. And I just, you got to look at Ella Massar and kind of what she's been able to implement just in these few weeks of taking charge. And I just like it, man. They just look different, dude.
I'm laughing because I rewatched, right? Chicago Courage. And, sometimes they usually will start the rewatch 10 minutes. They'll give you the 10 minutes prior to kickoff. And there was an Ella Massar package where she's talking and it looks like she's on a Zoom and being recorded. Did you see this? You know what I'm talking about?
No, I missed it. So
she's being recorded and she's like, this is Chicago. And she just sounds like a version of a little bit of Tupac and a little bit, she's just so passionate about Chicago and having be, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm sitting here in San Francisco. I've been to Chicago twice in my life. I'm like, yeah, this is fucking Chicago. I'm so fired up. So I'm like, hell yeah, this is this is a coach that I can see getting a team kind of turned around, considering how rocky things were for the Chicago side. And I want to call out one player specifically that we've talked about on the show last few weeks, who probably wasn't my favorite player last year. And just kind of was a player that I was like, this player's an annoying player. I don't want to I just was not into watching this player. And I've completely done a 180. Ali Schlegel is so good, man. And she's so busy and so threatening and so I don't know. I just love. I think I compared her to Alessia Russo a few weeks ago, and that's kind of who she reminds me of, just because she just goes and goes and goes and goes. The reason I bring her up is I feel like Schlegel ball started in earnest 3-4 weeks ago, where it's just she's just gonna outwork everybody. And I feel like it's had a really positive effect. And you don't know if that player responded the most to Ella Massar or what exactly is happening, but it's clear that she turned a corner, and be like, I'm going to lead through just how hard I'm going to work. And then it's clear that other players have followed suit, are following suit. And now all of a sudden, to your point, Chicago, not a team that, is going to roll into town and you're just like, all right, this is a dub.
Yeah. Yeah, not at all. And I mean, she just wins the ball. You know what I mean? Like with Schlegel,
Yeah.
like I just like you talk about her work rate. She's great in the air. She has good timing. Yeah, I like her toughness. Only 2 goals this season, but it feels like she impacts the match more than that. Like
Oh yeah.
especially these last few weeks. So yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for a team that's kind of stuck at the bottom of the table. Doesn't have any realistic playoff hopes at this point, but is still willing to fight out there. So again, shout to Ella Massar, who I hope gets future managerial looks, whether it's in a blue collar city like Chicago or any other city around the world. I hope she gets another opportunity.
Yeah. The Chicago. Yeah. Shout out to Jaden Shaw too. Really, really great to see Jaden Shaw score a goal, smile, enjoy football even for a couple minutes. So that really felt good. As a U.S. Women's National Team supporter, Sam Staub, another player maybe on the periphery of the national team, 2 assists in this one. The Sam Staub resurgence, reemergence kind of continues. Love to see that as well. But let's shift gears here to your squad. Houston -1, Seattle Reign 1. I'm dying to hear. I mean, the Seattle season's taken a weird turn. The weird turn kind of continues. I'm dying to hear what your takeaways were from this one.
So, they come back from international break. They get the 2-0 win over Angel City. Feels good. Then you get the big loss against Portland Thorns on the road. Weird weather, just get outplayed. Feels like the young players kind of get lost in the gigantic rivalry. The atmosphere, understandable. Then they give away the 3-0 lead to Chicago, which some, credit to Chicago, but you're up by 3 goals in the second half. You should win at home. You should absolutely win that match. And they were just getting diced like on the wings against Chicago in that match. And then Houston Dash, you go to Houston, who you and I have said have been relatively frisky throughout this season. Like Houston is not a pushover, despite them being near the bottom of the table as well. And Phoebe McClernand just has an absolute howler. Just a complete mix up of where she is on the field and where Yasmin Ryan is. And Ryan is one of those players that if you dilly dally with the ball or whatever you want to call it, you make a silly mistake like that, she's going to pounce on it. And then Ryan is such a great athlete and such a genius athlete that she pounces on it, but then has the patience to deke Dickey and then deke McClernand again, and then just tuck it away. Terrible mistake by McClernand, but they're able to get the recovery and kind of squeak out the draw. I still think you got to be disappointed with it though. If you're in the race and San Diego, Orlando, and Portland, and I think maybe one of those matches happened after the fact, but when those 3 teams lose in front of you, you got to be kicking yourself that you only got a draw.
I think that's one way to look at it. I think another way to look at it is Houston was a lot better than Seattle on this day. They
That's
notched,
probably fair too.
Yeah, I think they notched a lot more shots. They were able to penetrate deeper. Better possession. Super opportunistic with that goal, which is kind of how they want to play. I think they probably would have wanted a little bit more offensively, but I thought Seattle's a professional team defensively. They're not just going to. Well, in this instance, they did give one away.
Wow.
But they won't do that often. They won't make a habit of it for sure. But I thought Houston was better. I thought the announcing team brought up a good point, which was like, all right, let's see what Houston can do playing from ahead. And I think relatively predictably, they do give up the equalizer. I think relatively unpredictably, Jordan Huitema on the end of it. But kind of a cool moment. And if you're a team that's got like bigger aspirations than maybe just making the playoffs, scratching out a draw here against a Houston side that, to your point, is maybe a little bit more than feisty. I think, I want to pose one quick question to you. because there was one chunk of my power rankings that I really struggled with. Apologies, I keep going back to my power rankings as well, but it occupied a lot of my brain this week.
I like it.
I think there's a clear top 6: KC, Washington, Louisville, Orlando, San Diego, and Portland, right? 7, 8, 9 is where I think I've got Seattle, Gotham, and Houston all in the same kind of like 7, 8, 9 band. You know, and I'm not saying like, all right, this is where they're going to finish at the end of the season, but this is just where I think these teams are at. Based on Seattle and Houston, do you still feel like Seattle is the better team? Do you feel like it was like, you know, they left it on the table? Do you feel like these teams are relatively even, or arrows pointing up and arrows pointing down? How do you view these two teams specifically in relation to each other?
You know, not all draws are created equal. And I think that's kind of what it, you know, if I could guess like what's in your head here, you know, the draw versus Chicago and then this draw where they kind of get out, where they do. I think you're right. They do get outplayed for big chunks of the match against Houston. I think, you know, you can make a real argument that Seattle's arrow is pointing down. I feel like it's still kind of pointing sideways because the thing that's stuck in my head here is when do I get to see Mia Fischel play more minutes? Like that's still in the chamber. And then I'm not accusing anybody at Seattle Reign Football Club of being dishonest. Why isn't Lynn Biondolo playing more? If everybody keeps telling me that she could play more minutes if she needed to, then why isn't she playing? She's one of the, you know, like I understand she's like a little up there in age, but you didn't sign her for her not to play.
I mean, yeah, that's a little bit disappointing. And I think like it's been, I think a few weeks, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a few weeks of Seattle lineups that look like they're missing bite or just like leaving a lot of bite on the bench. 100%. You know, I think we've seen Fischel already. We've seen Biondolo already this season. Offensively, you know, Seattle put up the worst XG performance of the weekend, 0.36. Also the worst shot output, just 5 shots on the day. Haitama had 3 players with 1 shot each. It's gonna be tough to beat anybody. You're putting up 5 shots and you know, having that little effectiveness getting the ball upfield. But I mean, I feel like it's tough to say, but I feel like Houston could be approaching that same level where Seattle's at. And I think that probably says something about each team. Maybe Houston on the ascent, Seattle backsliding a little bit. Doesn't mean it's going to continue. But I feel like if this is going to be the lineup and the offensive approach, I'm not sure how that gets sorted. I think by the time we get to the playoffs.
Yeah, and you know, Jess Fishlock is 1 year younger than me, and you get 3 minutes of her this match because she needed to rest because she's playing a lot of minutes, and so you needed a rest. But to your point, the attack doesn't look dangerous hardly at all without her on the pitch. Ji So-yun, another player toward the end of her career, just doesn't provide the same bite. I think you put it perfectly as Fishlock in that kind of in those central areas. Or I think, you know, G spent some time out wide on this one. I will say little silver lining. Maddie Darlene and Sam Meza looked better than they had in the previous 2 weeks. It felt like they were kind of in their own heads there for a little while. It seemed like they started to break out of that. And that was a big part of the secret sauce earlier in the season was that Meza and Darlene were giving you great minutes. And now we might also have to live with, or you might have to look at, if you're talking about arrows again, or if we're thinking about like which direction the team's going, you know, Meza and Darlene, young players. It's Darlene's first year in the league. This is Meza's first real year in the league. All these matches in these physical games against these grown adult athletes that they're playing against, you know, are they going to wear down a little bit, you know, as they kind of build up their adult strength?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, it's like a team of, veterans and a lot of young players. Jordan Bug, another player that didn't see any action in this one. But let's shift gears. The final matchup, Week 17, Gotham FC 0, Utah Royals 0. All right, man. Anything else you want to hit before we get out of
here? Good game, Mandy McGlynn. Thought that was entertaining as anything else we were going to get out of this match. Rose Lavelle looked fast. She looked like she had a lot of energy out there. Had an explosive run on goal early in the match. That Rose Lavelle thing where she picks up the ball at half field is like, okay, 50-yard run here. Let's see. What else do we Guatemalan striker Aisha Solorzano had that shot off the crossbar from a nice free kick off of into the danger area by Zornoja. That's all I got. Other than that, this is the Sleepy Boys podcast. That was a sleepy time match, my good man.
Real sleepy. I think, Esther had some chances, not able to kind of cash in. Ultimately, I agree with you. The Mandy McGlynn game had the highest rated FOTMOB score across all 7 matchups, where she had Jordan Bloomer was the only player that equaled her, and well deserved. A bunch of big stops, and had to face the Gotham side that was able to register 44 touches in the box. So that's no joke. And when Esther's a part of that mix, when Rose Lavelle's a part of that mix, it's dangerous either way. But Gotham continues to kind of feel like a fringe playoff team, and I think this was a very fringe playoff team kind of performance. Can't get a win against I'll say a pesky Utah side. I think there's a little bounce back potential post Ali Setnor trade. I think Utah hasn't looked terrible, or as terrible as I think we were afraid it could have gotten. So I think a 0-0, for as underwhelming as that sounds, probably the right result for these two teams with where they're at and with the performance that they put forward in this one.
I think if you're Gotham, you hate it. Obviously, I think you should feel like you gotta beat Utah in that spot. But I think you're right. That's probably why they're more of a fringe playoff team than a team that I think other squads would really be fearing in the playoffs.
Yep, no doubt. All right, man. Week 17 in the books. As mentioned, we'll be back later this week with a Week 18 weekend preview. I think we get 4 Friday matches, a Saturday, a Sunday, and a Monday. So it's a kind of like a fun football weekend distribution. And I haven't talked to you about this, but we're recording this Tuesday night Pacific in the United States. And in about 7 hours time, our beloved SK Braun takes on Internazionale. I've already put the bat signal out to some of our friends in Norway, trying to figure out a way to watch this match. Well, we're going to do everything we can over the next 6-7 hours to try to put that together. But as mentioned, we'll be back later this week with a weekend preview for NWSL Week 18. All right, man. Anything else you want to hit before we get out of here?
I think that's it. Braun's on a heater. I think they've won their last 7 on the spin. Let's go, Italian. Let's get this fucking done. We are looking unstoppable right now. Let's go.
That's right. It's our time. It's our time now. All right, man. This has been another episode of the channel. Thank you for watching, listening, hanging out. If you enjoyed the show or love women's football as much as your boys do, make sure you're kicking with us each and every single week. Like, subscribe, follow YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to watch or listen. Leave us a review over your favorite podcast app. Links all of our socials, except one in the show notes of this episode. And a big thank you to my co-host as well, Mr. Grant Engle, for stepping up, stepping in. I appreciate you, bro. During a very tumultuous time here in the Decespedes household, but also a very glorious time in the Decespedes household. You're absolutely a co-host that I can count on. I appreciate you, bro.
Likewise, buddy. I'm extremely happy for you and the entire family. I'm glad we could fit this in the schedule. I'll continue to complain about my work schedule and about how busy my life is, just because obviously I need people to feel terrible for me. But I'll be all right.
Which I do.
We got, yeah, thanks. We got the football with us. That's all we can ask for. Alongside all of you, thank you guys for dropping knowledge again. Thanks for being patient with us. Even though I don't think anybody was really asking for us while we were gone. They're like, they'll come back eventually. We usually have like a weird hiatus, like once per NWSL season, but the season rolls on and the Champions League is coming back. That's what I'm extremely excited about that. So keep your eyeballs out for whatever kind of preview episode we do as the qualification rolls on. And enough rambling out of me. We will see you all next time.